last week we did get into the third verse where he said he should be known as a perpetual sannyasi who neither hates nor desires, who is free from the pairs of opposites. O Mahabaho, he is easily set free from bondage. The terms he uses, free from bondage, because no soldier would like to be bound. So everything that he is advising him, directing his message, is trying to see how Arjuna reacts. So as a soldier, he wouldn't be interested in bondage or slavery, because he is a king, he is a monarch, he is a prince. So he thinks as a warrior. So you should be liberated, but the bondage is not something external. The bondage is something internal. Now, there has been a little concern, which we had addressed though in the past couple of classes, concern regarding the understanding of a yogi, sannyasi, and a jnani. Now, keeping the context of the chapter in mind, all we got to understand, I'm trying to make it very simple to understand so that it helps us to evaluate ourselves. See, any external understanding, any knowledge, any information, any study, though it is objective, means external in nature, the only purpose of gaining any objective knowledge is for a subjective evaluation. So anything objective is meant for a subjective assessment. So unless and until it doesn't serve that purpose, it defeats the very purpose of getting into any study or reflection of this matter. In fact, any knowledge, any understanding, any wisdom doesn't blossom unless and until it starts trickling down into your life through actions. There is no point you only are able to talk about it. You become very pedantic, you become a great orator, you're a man of many words, but it doesn't translate into action. If it doesn't change the course of your thoughts and actions, I would say such knowledge is of no use. I keep saying in the meetings, wherever I have a little freedom, I keep saying, we don't want any NATO members here. Wherever we have a meeting, how many of you have heard this NATO concept? Please raise hands. NATO. In any meeting, you will have NATO. Any meeting, you can have your community, there will be NATO. You will have, you're sitting on any board, there will be NATO. There will be a few people getting together to do something, there will be NATO. That NATO attitude, I'm nothing against NATO. You know what NATO means? Look, only Shiva is the one who raised arm. Enna Shiva, what is NATO?
Non-aligned.
I'm sorry?
Non-aligned.
NATO irukkiye anga.
It refers to non-aligned movement.
You're getting into very technical. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. What has it got to do with you having a community where 100 apartments are there and you all are trying to get together to address the concerns of your housing board or your locality or your community?
No,
what has it got to do with North Atlantic Treaty? I don't understand. So there's a pun on the word NATO. Enna Shiva solungo?
No.
No.
Not that, not what you intend.
I don't think you are able to relate to what I'm asking. NATO is no action, talk only. So we don't want people who simply talk, advise and no action at all. Then NATO members will be there in any group. Yeah. So the acid test,
Good one. It's a good one. Very good.
so keep spreading the word. NATO, Nariya pesuvanga, no work at all. Nothing will happen. Things are exactly where they are. So you must understand that knowledge finds its fructification or fulfillment or its expression only when it reflects in your actions. Now, why I'm saying this is all your objective understanding. If it doesn't change the course of your action or your thought or your life, it is redundant. Now, keeping that perspective in mind, how should you understand this concept of a yogi, sannyasi, and a jnani? Now, the concept which revolves around a yogi, sannyasi, and a jnani, these are three spiritual people at different stages of spiritual development. As we have said, a yogi is a spiritual beginner, a sannyasi is an advanced seeker, a jnani is one who is merged with the self, he's attained realization, he's got to the goal. Now, how do you understand this with reference to your own spiritual development? Now, how do you know whether am I a yogi? How far have I progressed into a yogi? Have I become a sannyasi? Or am I really enlightened, if at all? If some of you have doubt, think that you're enlightened, how do you measure yourself? The only thing that you will be able to use as a tool, in fact, not the only thing, but in the context, the tool is your own quotient of desires. That's the way you will be able to evaluate yourself. What is the quotient of your desires? How gross are your desires? How impure are they? And as you evolve, the nature of the desires keep changing from gross to subtle, from impure to pure. This is how you evolve. And the initial stage is gross and impure. And as you evolve, it becomes subtle and purer. And as you march towards the self, they start fading away. You don't have any desires at all. Now, many spiritual practitioners out there, many spiritual gurus out there don't address this root problem. Everybody is trying to address the superficial facet. Everybody is trying to teach certain practices which, without taking into account what is the state of your mind. It's like a plane that is loaded with, let's say, dead weight. You have loaded the plane with rocks and boulders. Can the plane take off? Even if it struggles to take off, it's going to crash land very soon because it has got overweight. So how will the plane take off? It has to offload the bulk of the weight. All the extra weight must be taken off. That is when the aircraft can take off, isn't it? Similarly, you must lighten your personality by offloading the worldly desires. And worldly desires is not measured by how long you have lived life. It's not measured by age. Physical age has got nothing to do with a spiritual age. So a man who is spiritually evolved drops the worldly desires. And when the worldly desires drop, you become lighter. You are elevated from a yogi to a sannyasi, and a sannyasi to a jnani. So keep this in mind. And doesn't matter even the words, whether yogi is a beginner or a sannyasi is a beginner or advanced rather, because as we move forward into the next chapter, he intentionally uses a yogi as an advanced seeker. He simply keeps confusing us by using these terms here and there. All what you got to understand is, don't be carried away with the words, get the concept right. Okay. Now, the last we did was he is describing in the third verse. The first half of it we covered, if I'm not wrong. Am I right? We said that he should be known as a perpetual sannyasi who neither hates nor desires. He doesn't operate on his likes and dislikes. So when you have a predominant like, when you have an appreciation for certain things, when you're operating on a dislike, you detest certain things, you hate certain things. We discuss in detail. And then he says, nirdvandvaha, one who is free from the pairs of opposites. And if you look at the world, another word for the world is dvandva. Everything is only understood with an opposite. So you need, when you say knowledge, you will say not ignorance. Oh, he's very smart, means not dull. He's rich, means not poor. He's healthy, means not unhealthy. He's fair, means not dark. Short means not tall. He's very annoying. Opposite is very peaceful. All these are the various opposites which constitute the world. So when you interact with the world, there will be heat and cold. There will be joy and sorrow. There will be praise and censure. This is what the world is throwing at you. Is it not? When you take an objective stance and analyze the world is going to give you this. There will be success and failure. There will be profit and loss. There will be people who are happy with you. There will be people who are annoyed with you. This is the world. Now, he says, one who is free from the pairs of opposites. In fact, Lord Ganesha, if you look at Lord Ganesha, which aspect of his personality is trying to convey this? Any idea? Everything is symbolic. So there's something which conveys that Lord Ganesha is beyond the pairs of opposites. The Sitaramji is saying is the size of the Vahana. That is big and small. Elephant has a vehicle of a rat. How is it possible? So that is only conveying the opposite, isn't it? An opposite means a pair. Now, what is it that symbolizes that who has gone beyond the pair, transcended the pair? If you look at the tusks, rightfully said by Gayatri Man and a couple of others, that one of the tusks is intentionally broken. It's broken tusk. Again, there's a story and a parable revolving around it. We'll not get into that. But if you look at the tusk, one of the tusks is broken, symbolizing that Lord Ganesha transcended beyond the pairs of opposites. It's a pair. So he only had one tusk, which means he's gone beyond the pair. So that's a symbolic aspect. Now, the moment you get up, from the moment you interact with the world is only going to present to you one of the pair, isn't it? Now, how should one be free from the pairs of opposites? When you say free from the pairs of opposite, it is obvious that you are free from the affectation from the pairs of opposites. It's not, you can't be free from the world. You can't run away from the world, but you're free from the affectation of either joy or sorrow, or heat or cold, or praise or censure, or good or bad, or faith or no faith, gratefulness versus ungratefulness. This is what the world is, isn't it? The question is, when I'm exposed to the world, which is nothing but dvandvas, how should I be unaffected by the pairs of opposites? I'm sure, let's be very, very upright to each one of us, ourselves first and foremost, that aren't we affected by the pairs of opposites? At some stage or other, something affects us, isn't it? Doesn't it? You all agree with me? Now, you would need to know how do you address this perennial concern. So how do you ensure that you're not affected by the pairs of opposites? How do you remain independent of the world? By becoming a witness or a sakshi. Siddharamanji is saying, okay. Can I ask Maushami? I hope I have pronounced you correctly. how do you think we can remain unaffected by the pairs of opposites?
Yeah, actually what he said just now, I agree to that, staying witness uh, or objectify the situation or the state of mind or the person. So as we are objectifying means I'm looking at it, uh, I'm a separate entity, I'm looking at the situation. So as if I'm not a part of it. I mean, that is my understanding. I may be wrong. And secondly, I would also like to add that this is something which is difficult to practice all the time. I mean, everywhere with every person. If I say I can do that, I'm not telling the truth. But I feel this is the way I mean, by objectifying the situation or the person, or as he said, staying as a witness, we can somewhat achieve that. And please correct me wherever I'm wrong.
Very sweet. I knew that none of us are perfect. Therefore, I took the freedom and said, let's confess. None of us are at a state where we are unaffected. We all get affected or perturbed or concerned of certain areas, don't we? Hmm? Now, it's a very interesting observation that you objectify. It means you remain objective and you stand apart and watch it. Yes, that's
Yes.
a fair thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Hemalata, where are you, ma? Are you on the screen? Have you switched on your camera?
Yes, I have.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes, I'm
Yes,
here.
ma. Yes,
Yes.
ma. Please go ahead.
What happens to me is if it is very cold or it is very hot, or my head is aching or some problem comes, then what I think is all that is happening to me is only happening to the body and not to the Atma, not to me actually. So that helps to at some stage, but I won't say I will not be affected at all. I'll be affected, but this is how I make my mind. And after some time, the headache or the coldness, I don't feel it much. I start getting used to it. So the kind of, even dukkha, I only say it is only outside. It does not happens to me. It is not happening to the Atma. The Atma is above all of this. If somebody scolds me, then I say, if the food I have cooked is not good, somebody says, this is not me, this is not you, someone says it's not good, then I'll think, I'm not a cook. I'm not the food. I'm not all this. I'm the Atma.
Yeah.
That feeling helps to a great extent. That's how I handle it. I don't know if it is right or not, but this is something I'm practicing for some time.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, very profound attitude to disconnect with the happening, to say, I have got nothing to do with it. And the world doesn't affect the Atman, the world only affects an individual. We often bring an example, since you mentioned, I can bring this analogy. There is a very powerful magnet, which is the world, and I bring a metal piece, which is the individual. So the world, which is the magnet, influences the metal piece. Any number of times, I just bring it, the horseshoe magnet, so powerful, it gets holds onto it, and I need to put a little force to separate them. And independently, I bring a wooden piece to the same magnet. What happens? Any number of times I bring and separate them, there is no effect at all. And the wooden piece is the Atman. Now, I tie up the wooden piece and the metal piece together. Now I bring the combination to the magnet. What happens? It still draws it because the magnet is very powerful. Now, when the magnet is influencing the combination of the wooden piece and the metal piece, is the wooden piece influenced by the magnet? It remains unaffected. It has no influence. Even though it seems to be bound and influenced, it's never influenced. So the Atman in me is like a wooden piece. The matter in me is the equipment. So the world, which is the magnet, only influences the body, mind, and intellect. The world only influences your physical level, as Hemlata Ma said, heat and cold, joy and sorrow, acceptance and disacceptance. It only hurts the body, mind, intellect. But when my equipments are subjected to the influence of the world, I say, I have got nothing to do with this. I know what is happening, but I'm identifying with the self. I attune to the self, which is the wooden piece in me. So each one of us have got the choice either to identify with the metal piece or the wooden piece. You identify with the metal piece, you will be affected, you will be disturbed. The world will torment you. You will go through the mental fluctuations. You will be affected, undoubtedly. But the moment you are able to disconnect, you can't disconnect and not connect anywhere else. You disconnect from this and connect to the wooden piece, which is the Atman. Relatively, you'll find, chalta hai, it's okay, it happens. That's life, isn't it? So you're able to accept that the world is the dvandvas and I will be exposed to the opposites. I'll have to gracefully accept success. I have to gracefully accept failure. I have to gracefully accept birth. I have to also gracefully accept death. Isn't that inevitable part of life? How can you only say I will receive the positive and detest the negative? So you have not learned and understood that the world is opposites. So, and therefore we will find ourselves constantly swayed. Now the question is, to what extent you're able to handle, to what extent not able to handle. At some stage you buckle, and that's where you're not able to withdraw or what advice you're given. Yes, Srimati Ma, you're saying something. What happens to me happens to everyone else. It's just in me.
Guruji, my father-in-law once told me this when I was quite young. He said that whatever happens to you, Ma, just think you're contributing to the statistic. It's just the statistic. If a person, there are so many people who lose their husbands when they're 32 or 45 or 50. And for me, that statistic thing, it's something that I can hold on to, you know. I mean, it's a little difficult to think about Atman and all that when something terrible is happening to you. But then if you realize that it's not just me, I'm not special. It happens to everybody. There are people, worse things are happening to them. And now it's my turn. Let me just accept it with grace and dignity and see how I can pull myself.
You know, every time you speak such lovely, wise words, Ma.
I don't know, maybe I'm so foolish with the words are wise.
No, you are not foolish. Don't say that. In fact, I'm only giving you a connect to the second chapter, the 14th verse. Lord Krishna gives a similar message in a different tone. He says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadaha agama payino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharata. O Arjuna, O Bharata, learn to practice what is known as titiksha. You're strong, Ma. You're very strong. Wonderful. We're all in the lovely company of this wisdom, you know. So it's only going to bring the best out of us. Huh?
Thanks.
So the message resonated very well to what is said elsewhere. So he says that we all have to go through it. But when we are subjected through these experience, you can't even call them as bitter experience because that is what life is.
Yeah.
How can you say, I only want a life of honey without, you know, whenever the lady in the house, the family prepares a meal. My wife, she prepares, including this morning, the breakfast she prepared. She's out of such concern. She'll say, I have tried to remove as much chilies because we can't stand. Some of us, I also can't take any chili, but you still need that little 1 or 2 in it to give it the taste. And she says, I've tried to remove the chili, but you come and say, hey, watch out, there are a couple of chilies there, still there, so watch out. Now, it is part and parcel of life, isn't it? You need to have that spice, a little bit of it. So life has got to have these two elements, but when one is subjected to through it, as you rightly said, I'm not any different, I'm not any special.
Yeah.
I just have to learn to endure.
Yeah.
And this beautiful word of endurance is known as titiksha. Get a hold of this beautiful quality. Hardly it is clarified. I'm actually typing it out for you all so that you would know how it's pronounced. It's titiksha, Titikksha, titiksha, tam titikshasva bharata. He says, in short, titiksha is a capacity to go through pain with a pleasure or with a smile on your face. A capacity to endure difficult phase of life with a beautiful smile. You're able to endure challenge or pain or difficulty with a smile.
Guruji,
Yes, ma.
can I also ask, say one thought that comes to me often?
Mm-hmm.
Is it, is a lot of our problems, is it because we take ourselves so seriously? We don't take ourselves as a microscopic speck in the microcosmic existence.
Yeah.
And I'm so precious to myself that I cannot have these discomforts. I cannot have pain. Why not? I mean, the minute we stop taking ourselves that seriously, then I think pain and censure and praise, like you said, you know, because even as a teacher, you have parents who come and tell you, you made a huge change to my child's life. And you have parents who come and say, last year he loved this subject, implying, what did you do to my child this? So, you know, so just as
Thanks
so
to you. Thanks to you, he's not picking up the book at all. Huh?
yeah, I've just learned to say, oh, is that so? I mean, when they say you're the best, I say, is that so? And if they say you've done something terrible, I say, is that so?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, is
But
it?
again, I say you are again very, very. You're saying, you're narrating something very of a great proverbial saying of a Chinese philosopher who always kept on saying to anything that people came and threw at him. He only said, "Is that so? Is
Yeah.
that so?" So you're in full form today, Srimati Ma, full form. In fact, Kalidasa, the famous poet, he used to utter these Sanskrit words, Tata Kim.
Ah,
Tata Kim means so what? Oh, I've got the best job in town. So what?
yeah, so what?
So big deal, man. Oh, I've lost someone near and dear. So what, man? Why are you making a heavy weather of it? So it's very, very important. I like the way you said we don't realize that we are an insignificant speck of dust in this macrocosm. What am I, man? What am I? You know, if you look at an individual from the macrocosmic perspective, you and I are insignificant. We don't exist.
Absolutely.
And yet we make such a heavy weather of our life and our problems as if it matters and that's all exists and that's all matters. And we're all important to our, and we believe everything revolves around us.
And it should
You're all important.
yeah. And what matters, what happens to you should affect everyone else around you.
Yeah. You become the big boss, you know.
Just
In
easy.
fact, it is just a big bubble. It's going to burst anytime. It's just a bubble. So in fact, I become very, perhaps this message drives home very strongly. You know, whenever you go to a planetarium and you just put your head back and relax just to capture what's all displayed there, it just sinks into you. You know, it starts with that, the mighty cosmos, the Milky Way and the galaxies and the stars and all whatnot. I'm lost for words what they are. And then slowly it narrows down to our galaxy, our Milky Way, and then it brings to our planetary system, and then comes down to our planet Earth, and then it leaves you there. And then Earth, he says, is just a small dot in that huge dome which is lit with all lights and many, many things there. And he highlights it in a round red light and say, that is Earth. Oh my God. If that is Earth,
What am I?
where is our continent? Oh, Asia. Where is Asia? Not there in the map. Where is India? Figure it out. Then where is Telangana? And then where is Secunderabad? And then where is your much desired, beautifully decorated, terribly attached house of yours? And then this 5 feet 7 inches personality who thinks he is the big boss. If the entire planet Earth itself is insignificant speck in that mighty cosmos, where am I, man? Not even a dust, insignificant. This is how you should rationally, what do? You should rationally
Detach.
detach.
Renounce.
Renunciation, detachment. Yes. Anybody else? This is how you should rationally. Yes, Sitaramji, this is how you should rationally. Just a minute.
Explain the situation or accept the situation as it exists.
No, I am not. Why should you explain to anyone?
No, accept.
So this rationality, this reasoning perhaps rationalizes situation or what life puts you through, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this rationality, what does it do to you?
It tends to reduce the impact of the stress that you're going through.
Self-created, isn't it?
That's right.
Entirely self-created. But if you had followed the argument, what is the big problem here? The big problem is, when we spoke about the micro and the macro, what is the problem there?
Yeah, the problem is that you think that you are the entire universe.
Which is?
I mean, which is not true.
Which is certainly not true. It is, isn't it the ego?
Yeah, it's the ego.
Ego is what I keep using, that a beautiful way of conveying what ego is. Ego is an exaggerated glorification of oneself. You are glorifying yourself in an exaggerated manner, and you put yourself way above everything around you, and you stand out.
May I say something?
Please.
I have a slightly different opinion.
By all means.
Now, in the sense that, when you try to compare yourself and say that you are just a speck, etc., and you're quite insignificant, it also, in a way, then if you take it to its logical conclusion, it will say that what I am doing is also of no consequence, which I don't think is right. What we do has a lot of consequences, though we may be a small, insignificant part of the entire cosmos. But what we do is not insignificant because it affects us, it affects our family, it affects our nation, the whole world in a way. So we have both issues. We are insignificant, but our contribution is not insignificant. In fact, if you look at some of the exhortations of Vivekananda, he says to the youth that, look, arise, do your duty, and do your duty with such feeling that if you stop ever, think that the whole nation stops. So he goes to the other extent, so saying that, look, think of yourself as such a contributor that if you stop even for a little while, the entire nation will stop. They're different way of looking at the same thing, very opposite different.
Very beautiful. I think all of you are in full form today. Whatever you all had for breakfast, please have. Repeat every Sunday mornings and Wednesday evenings, so that we'll all have a wonderful takeoff. All have taken off to a different zone. In fact, beautifully captured, Sitaramji. What you're saying ultimately, in fact, is the same thing. So you have to nullify the little self and glorify it to the macrocosm. What the great Vivekananda has said, what your actions are can really resonate well, can really augur that great spiritual aura or a wholesomeness, or able to uplift the larger well-being, encompass a total transformation of everything around you. So think of a larger cause, think of the nation, think of realization. But that's possible only when you nullify the little self and glorify the bigger self, isn't it? So the argument of the micro and the macro is only to curb an arrogating notion or too much importance and attention given to yourself, which is not required, man. There's so much thing happening there. So the moment you shift your focus from yourself to a larger cause, instantly, doesn't it liquidate your own little ego? Doesn't it dissolve your seemingly persistent concerns and problems or challenges of life? Somebody comes and tells me, some information keeps coming all the time, you know, the challenging times of job. My son has lost his job. And that is causing me a great trauma. Understandable, because of your attachment to your child. The loss of a job will hurt you. But then, how do you handle that piece of difficult news? So many thousands and hundreds and thousands of people have lost job. My son is one amongst them, isn't it? This is a beautiful advice given to us. Whenever you are in any situation, take a vertical view and a horizontal view of life. This really helps. Take a vertical view and a horizontal view. Vertical view means in your own life, go backwards and also perhaps pitch it forward. If I've had a challenge in my life now, I'm making a mountain of a challenge now. I've lost a job, or I've lost a near and dear, or people are tampering with my reputation, or something is not right, or my health is concerning, it is bothering you. Now, this challenge you're facing now, look back into your life's challenges in the past. What was your challenge? What is difficulty you have now? What was it compared to all other challenges you have faced in your life? Isn't it become less important? Because I've gone through many challenges before, and I've come out of that, and I'm able to talk about it objectively. That's the vertical view. Take the horizontal view. I have lost a job. Look around you. So many thousands and hundreds and thousands of people have lost. I'm just one amongst them. Oh, my only child is getting married. What amount of excitement. What amount of hangama. Get carried away. Take a vertical view and horizontal view. I have got married. I have seen many marriages in my own life, in my family, in the family, in the extended family. What is there? One more marriage in the family happening? Horizontally, I feel sorry. This fellow also is going to follow the same path and face the same consequences of what everybody has paid. Stupid fellow. Bala. This fellow has not understood. He has seen me as a live example of being on the chopping block every day, all his life, and yet he has not learned a lesson. Never mind, you also go through, you say, Tathastu, blessing to you. What can you say? You can't say anything. Now, when you understand the life or any situation vertically, horizontally, you will not make a heavy weather of it. Understand it just exists. No doubt it is, but don't give it a greater significance. It plays. It has a role. Play your role objectively to the best, as grand as possible, but won't make a big weather out of it. So when you go through these various suggestions we have had, the various aspects we discussed, you will certainly be able to handle what the world throws at us, whether it be negative or positive. And lastly, it's an observation. It is, in fact, easier to handle negativity than positivity. An observation, there is a certain reasoning to it, but examine it. If you wanted, we can just take a comment or two. Yeah. Before I get to that, maybe Sitaramji has something.
Yeah, I just wanted to a couple of things. One is that, one of the ways of handling the stress situation is to think and say that this too shall pass, which is
Absolutely.
which is
Correct.
what. The second one is, when we try not to take the horizontal view and the vertical view, as you mentioned, there is an inherent danger of you becoming insensitive. One has to be a little careful when we do this analysis. One should not lose sight of the fact that events do cause you to be emotionally involved. I mean, that's the part of living. If it becomes too rational about the whole thing, then you might be perceived as being insensitive to either good news or bad news, which in a way helps you take care of the stress portion. But for the year in year, you would be seen to be insensitive, not at all participating in what's happening.
No.
This might doubt.
Sir, in fact, I don't know whether you are a part of this satsang group. Huh? You are. There was a photo taken of me by Sudhakarji, and he came with so much love yesterday to the center, and he said he wanted to wish me on the Teachers' Day, and quite a few people send greetings from all over. But he said, I would like to come and visit you on Teachers' Day. I said, you're most welcome, sir. And he came, and this was a candid moment he captured a few days ago on an occasion. And when he came with so much love and concern, and is it all right if I share this with the group? It has a certain emotion. It has a certain sentiment. How can I not be respectful of an emotion or a feeling somebody has, a pure feeling for you? What are you talking, sir? Vedanta is a higher knowledge of wisdom, and you don't have to be affected by all these paltry passing emotions, and don't be affected by that. No. What is this love, all this thing? Please, no putting anywhere. You feel it, you keep it bottled up in your heart. Don't share it, don't make it public. What is this tamasha going on? The thing is, I could have dismissed him off in a most polite way, and he would have accepted. In fact, he literally was so sweet of him. He said, I'm asking your permission. Please, I'm not putting words into your mouth, Sudhakar Garu. Isn't what you said? He very much, exactly like that. He folded his arms, and he was so sweet of him. He's like my father figure. And he's telling me, sir, if you think it is right to post, I shall post. I said, sir, by all means. It's such a fine emotion you have. It's not that you're glorifying me or I'm seeking that, but something you want to do it voluntarily. Why not? Sir, being philosophic, being rational doesn't mean you destroy your emotions or you curb your feelings. In fact, it helps you to nurture and chasten your feelings and emotions. It only takes the weeds out of the unhealthy emotions out of the mind. The unhealthy emotions are like weeds in your garden. You need to go and keep removing the weeds so that your garden flourishes. Similarly, the mind becomes unhealthy when all the negative emotions take root, deep rooted, and spoil the beauty of the mind. Mind has to have these emotions of positivity, which is all these emotions, all the positive emotions. But the intellect must be able to give it a proper direction, give it a proper nourishment, a proper handling, nurture it. So intellect should not, a right intellect will not destroy the mind. It gives a beautiful dimension so that the mind can blossom with feelings and emotions. So it is an often perceived notion that a Vedantin will have no feelings and emotions. So too much rational is no good. I think we should abolish that thought. It is not at all. It's not that you have no heart. In fact, a true human being is physically dynamic. In fact, I've been thinking of you, Sitaramji, wanting to invite you and go join the journey. I know you are a man of action, you are fit, and you're young at heart, and you're very active. Other day, I picked up a bicycle, and I've seen you here and there cycling, so I thought maybe we can tag along for a good ride. I'm trying to invite whoever wants to come along, please come along. So I went this morning. My trek was, sorry, I keep talking of trekking, but I'm new to the cycling now. I went for a ride close to 2 hours. I did 36 kilometers this morning. And I've just done 3 days, 4 days of cycling. I'm enjoying it. Physically, I want to be active, fit, and dynamic. Mentally, I want to keep myself calm and composed and entertain the most positive emotions. Intellectually, I would like to have the sharpest clarity, the clear perception to see through the decisions I make in my life. This is how an ideal perfection is. Physically, you're sharp. Mentally, you're calm. Intellectually, you're alert. None would be in conflict with other. And this is holistic development we're talking about, sir. Does it resonate well, Sitaramji? Okay. So, yes, you're right. Physically active, mentally calm. You must add also intellectually sharp. You're missing that part. Okay. Now, the question I asked, what was the question I asked? Balasubramaniam sir, Solongo, what was the question I asked little while before I clarified with Sitaramji?
No, but one has to be physically active and mentally calm. That's the attitude we have to adopt. But I don't know how it'll be taken by various people.
Sir, na ena tappu pannana cycling polo tappa sir. How will be accepted by people na enna sir adu? Cycling panna kodada?
Yeah, panna.
No, if you say so, if you say don't go cycling,
You're free. You're free to do it.
Oh, nandri sir. Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing something wrong.
Nothing.
Kind of going for a walk or some kind of
exercise. You can do any activity.
Any physical activity.
Yeah, any physical activity.
Yeah. But if you recollect a little earlier, I had said it is easier to handle negative experiences in life, but it's rather difficult to handle the positive experiences. You're a little objective. In fact, people become philosophical when there's a negative phase of life, but all the philosophy goes for a 6 when you're in the acme of your life. When you're in the best moments of your life, when everything is going very well, there's success, there's name, there's following, there's health, there's family, there's business, all are going very unlikely you're composed and you got your feet grounded. Oh, you have a head rise, you have an ego, you have a, I have conquered the world. Isn't it? There's a very likely experience. That's what I was referring to, sir. Yes, Hemlatama.
I was giving that question only. I just gave the question that it is difficult to handle happiness and, sukha than, handling a sadness.
In fact,
so,
you rephrase the question very well, I must say.
Yes. It happens whenever somebody praises us, we really go for a 6. It's like, as if we have achieved something.
Somebody comes and, hey, you lost some weight, huh?
Actually,
that morning only you checked your weight, it's actually 2 kilos more, and somebody says you lost weight. Oh my God, you know the reality.
You're on this.
Yet you feel, oh my God, so nice you feel.
So nice. It's really,
Yet it is not true.
Difficult.
Yet it's not true.
Then, maybe like the other person was saying, somebody else was saying, that even this shall pass away. That kind of feeling we should bring in then. Very true. That is the only way. Yes.
Yes. But let's open it up to others. Let's ask Jayashree Prabhuma. Can I ask you? I must say, I've been getting a little feedback and I'm very mindful of it. I can only engage people whom I see. See, there are over 50 people and I'm only seeing not more than half of them. That there has to be a dynamic communication and interaction. Imagine, let's say now I'm not seen by you all. Just keep listening to me. How is your experience? you also should know what I feel. Huh? You want me to talk on the Gita, you want me to explain word by word, you want me to make sense and take through a journey, and yet you will lay 10 conditions. I will not do this, I will not do that, and then what? Huh? See, you will not, you're instantly distracted when you don't see me, isn't it? The concentration is much, much better if you are able to have a certain visual communication. So I appeal to you all again and again, a little journey of ours. Let us have a dynamic interaction. It brings the best out of me, as well as your experience will be far more profound. So try to activate your camera so that I can sail through the different platforms and I can engage with you all. Okay. So yeah, Jai Shri Ma.
Yes, whatever you told, physically active, mentally calm, and intellectually sharp. I agree with you. With that only we can attain to reach the yogi level, I feel.
Yes, very true. One reaches a state of not yogi, ma sannyasi. Yogi the starter.
Yeah.
You will advance from yogi to a sannyasi. But the question I'm asking is, which Hemlata Ma has actually rephrased it beautifully. It is very difficult to handle happiness, but it's easier to handle sorrow.
Yes, that is.
Why is it? Why is it that way?
Because we feel always we should be happy like that. We never accept the other side of the thing, that we feel always that happiness only we should attain the happiness. Which way? That is the.
I understand. There's a perhaps a deeper calling, wanting always positive, and when that comes, perhaps you can't handle. Okay, you have a point. Okay, let me get someone else clarify. Okay, okay, Ramana Garu, could you unmute yourself, sir, before? Yeah.
Yeah, Pranam Swamiji.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Swamiji, yeah, like when you are comparing the cosmos, like how you have to cut the ego, it reminds me one thing which I have learned. Like I heard, I'm not practicing, but like either you have to become such a big personality that you can break the bondages. So you have to feel the complete world as you, and you have to break the bondages. That is one way. And the second way is, as you said, we have to become so small, like very insignificant, that through that also we can cross the bondages. So there are two ways. Like Hanumanji, like he can become big and he can break the bondage, and he becomes small and will cross the ocean.
Right. Very interesting analogy. Right. Yeah. But either way, you should not either, when you become big, there is no need to have a superiority complex, or become small, nor should there be an inferiority complex. Just be what you are, isn't it? And just carry on your work, isn't it? Nobody is superior or inferior. All right. But the question we are dealing now is, why is it difficult to handle happiness, but easier to handle sorrow relatively? It's not that it's easy to go through difficult phases and be mature and have a control over emotions, but relatively it's easier to handle happiness. Any idea?
Because it is boosting your ego, so it is very difficult to.
You got a point. You got a very valid point. So, as somebody says, you have lost some weight. Your ego shoots up. Oh, thank you very much, sir. You know, get carried away, isn't it? Yeah. So your ego is fed, and then you can't handle it. Fair enough. Who is VRK? என்னம்மா உஷாமா எவ்ரிடே ஒரு புதுசா நீங்க டைட்டில் கொடுக்குறீங்க அது
லேப்டாப் அவரோட அதனால
no worries. Yeah. Yes ma, what were you saying?
I feel when you're in the negative, you will tend to take support from philosophy or karma or some kind of this theory, which will help to console you, and that way also it will act as a support for you.
Yes. And in happiness,
which you don't need. You don't need that in happiness. You're already, your ego is boosted, you're in your ninth planet or something, so you don't need any kind of those kind of things.
I only heard ninth heaven, நீங்க ninth planet சொல்றீங்க. New I'm coming to know new realms of late. Yes, you're right. Any other comments?
Guruji,
Yes, sir. Sure, சொல்லுங்க.
happiness, in fact, you have a doubt, so you don't really accept happiness. Am I really happy? You are somebody. If somebody is angry, you don't ask, are you really angry? We accept because negative things, whereas positive things we have a doubt. You ask anybody when they are really happy, are you happy? Then they will have a doubt, am I really happy? The doubt is about the positive. We don't doubt the negative. Good things will always question. We don't ask the negative things.
Yeah.
When we
are unable to hear you
achieve
clearly,
something,
Shiva, sorry to interfere. We are unable to
I
hear you.
did. We don't realize that
There is
we have done it with the help of others.
Sure, sir. I can understand what you're saying partly because I think there's a lot of disruption in your voice. It's not clear to us. Maybe some internet issues. So
Probably some.
if you wish,
We don't see
type your
happiness.
message out. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that, Shivaji. Just drop a note on the chat box. We will be able to get the valid point you're mentioning. Yeah, before I come to Sitaramji, I can ask Hariji. Yes, Hari sir. Solungo.
Looking towards external is always easier than looking inward. When I am unhappy, then I am looking externally for props and supports and external reasons. Whereas when I am trying to analyze happiness, that is, I have to turn inward. So the external journey is easier than the internal journey. Hence, it becomes difficult, relatively more difficult to handle happiness than sorrow. That you want sympathy from others, you want props from others. You are dependent on the external world to sort out your problems.
I would never have thought that way. Very, very beautiful, Hariji. Glad you said that. Yes, wonderful. Yeah, Sitaramji.
I have slight difficulty in understanding the word happiness in the context that we are talking of, because the entire objective of life really is what is generally summarized as sukha prapti, dukha nimvriti. So sukha is not happiness in this sense of the word, I feel.
No,
I understand.
Sitaramji, could I stop you here?
Sure.
You say dukha nivritti, sukha prapti. We're not talking of that.
No. So this happiness word which is being used, I think is more to do with success rather than happiness per se. Yeah.
You could actually use them. See, have we not given examples? Let's say there's a marriage, your son or daughter, your child is getting married.
Yeah. So
there is a tragedy in the family.
Yeah.
Take these two experiences. You will certainly philosophize a tragedy, but you can't philosophize that pleasure or the joy or happiness or the occasion of the family, marriage occasion.
Yeah.
In that sense, so you could use synonymously success or joy or happiness or the positive experiences in life all in one breath. You wouldn't be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that clarify?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Siddharamanji, why is it difficult to handle rather happiness than sorrow?
Happiness brings responsibility. When you lost weight, you have to continue to lose. if you and also it brings people get envy. Whereas dukkha in my idea, it actually, if one looks at it, challenges bring new perspectives. I have seen most of the entrepreneurs became entrepreneurs because of losing jobs. It throws you opportunity. Actually, best way when I said, when that person said he lost his job, he can give job if he becomes a self-employed. He himself can recruit. That's how we have to look at the.
Whatever it is, after the class, I am going to listen to the recording again, because very, very enterprising answers. I don't know about you all, but I'm going to certainly take a note. Yes. Yeah, Mani sir, Solungo.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sir, I got 1 crore lottery. So my happiness is something different, For last so many months, I didn't sleep. How to distribute that money? That's the biggest thing. I lost my car. No problem. No problem. Somebody has stolen it. Finished. So this, so this is the thing.
Sir, I can't beat the example you're given.
By distributing the 1 crore, I earn a lot of enmity.
By actually winning 1 crore, everybody else who bought the lottery ticket will curse you.
No, in my own relatives.
Oh, own
relatives. Only few lakhs he has given. He has given more there, more here, more there, more of enmities.
Oh my God. Yeah, it is the sad reality of life, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. In fact, before I wanted to add one point, let me hear from the host. Harish ji is our big boss, so we have to. If he decides to close the meeting, he can close anytime. So we have to make sure he is also pleased. Harish ji, namaskaram, sir. What is the answer, ji?
I don't know. I look at it in very simplistic terms that when you talk of handling unhappy situations, one can look at it in 2 ways. One is, it tells you when you handle it that the future is better. So there is an element of positivity which goes well, which makes it that much easier. The second thing is, when you are in trouble, when you're in a bad situation, and you never tend to look around and feel good that there are others who are worse, etc., etc. Whereas when you're happy, you want to show this happiness to everybody. And you look around and then you see there are many who are happier than you. And that in itself, so I would say the whole concept of comparison, looking upwards rather than downwards, all this arises more when you're happy and not when you're sad. Because when you're happy, you don't like to look below you and feel happy that way. You still tend to look upwards because you want to impress everybody.
Yes.
So it's again comes down to outward looking versus inward looking. A lot of people have said the same thing in different ways.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm at a loss as to what is the right words to choose. But a lot of people have said it in their own ways.
Yeah. You have also clarified very well, Jay, and rightly so. Everybody has brought a very beautiful aspect to this concept, which really life tests us. In fact, one of the other points perhaps you could be mindful of is Why we are able to handle negativity better than positivity is because you are little objective. You're little detached to the negativity. But when it comes to positivity, you get carried away. You are swept off your feet because you're not able to handle that joy because you get involved in it.
As you said, Guruji, you can indulge in happiness, but you can't indulge in sorrow.
Correct. You don't.
Or linger in sorrow.
You can't linger in sorrow. You're right. No. So that the capacity to maintain a sense of composure and objectivity is difficult in happier moments or pleasure moments. So you get involved and you lose your sense of reality. You're not realistic thereafter. You don't accept that happiness is going to go, and there will be moments where it will not be acceptable or unpleasant moments. So you get involved, you get carried away, you are less objective. Therefore, you can't keep yourself at bay, or you can't keep yourself composed or balanced. So happiness comes and inundates you and you're swept away with it because you're not objective. In one word, you're involved, not objective. And I'm reminded of this famous Kabir Doha. Dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. जो सुख में सुमिरन करे दुख काहे को होए कबीरा दुख काहे को होए. Now what Sant Kabir brings in this is a slightly different flavor. He says dukh mein sumiran sab kare sukh mein kare na koi. Everybody thinks of the higher in moments of their sorrow or distress, but nobody thinks of the higher in their moments of success. One who thinks of the higher, invests his time, gets himself prepared to face life and what life throws at them. When in their moments of happiness, dukh kahe ko hoy, there will be no sorrow. So it's perhaps Sant Kabir is leading us into what we started off by saying, it is not what the world throws at you, it's how to remain unaffected by what world throws at you. So if you're able to think of the higher values in the best moments of your life, when there are challenging times, you will be able to endure and handle them well. Jo sukh mein sumiran kare, dukh kahe ko hoy. There will be censure, there will be praise. When somebody is censuring me, you're not gone down with that negative comments. You're still able to handle and maintain your sense of objectivity and composure. You're not affected by it because you have developed such, how do you use what's the right word? It's like you've insulated yourself from the world. Imagine I could be holding a live wire. There is current passing through it, yet I am not electrocuted because the wire is well insulated. There's electricity passing through it, but I am not electrocuted. Similarly, you can be subjected through difficult moments of life, but if you have invested your time and energy and resources in wisdom, in this knowledge, in this higher values, it will give you enough capacity to insulate you from all the vicissitudes or challenges of life. And that is what Sant Kabir puts it beautifully. You can conclude it with that thought. Therefore, yeah, he says, and one who is able to handle these two aspects, which is who neither hates nor desires, and also is free from the pairs of opposites, this is a state of a sannyasi who is a perpetual sannyasi, means he is established forever. Now, this is the benchmark of a sannyasi. Now you will know how close or far you are from being a sannyasi. All right?